Path of Power. Chapter 10. Marshall formulates a plan to deal with the zombies. Will his plan work? Will he be able to finally bury the dead? After arriving in front of his apartment, Marshall put down the shovel and tarp before entering his home. There were many thoughts flowing through his mind. If he wanted to bury the two people and then the zombies, he would need to be safe through the entire process. He would have to find a way to lure the zombies away and potentially kill them off. What will I need to lure them away? How do I keep myself safe in the process? Do I really need to bury them? These were some of the thoughts going through his mind. After sitting on the couch, Marshall thought deeply about how he would solve some of the questions going through his mind. After thinking for a bit, an idea came to mind. The best way to lure the zombies away would be to distract them with loud noises. If he did not want to be in the crosshairs, the noise had to come from a source that was not him. If the sounds could not come from him, who or what would the sounds come from? Marshall's eyes inadvertently landed on the kitten. Can I use the kitten? How would that work? Would it even be loud enough to attract their attention? If it did attract their attention, how would it escape from them? How fast is the kitten? Would it follow my directions? Many questions kept going through Marshall's mind, leading him through a rabbit hole of pointless questions. As if feeling Marshall's burning gaze, the kitten turned around from its cozy nap and looked straight into Marshall's eyes. "Meow," said the kitten in a quizzical fashion. The sudden noise awoke Marshall from his stupid thoughts. Sensing the strange human gaze changed, the kitten returned to its comfortable nap. "What's wrong with me?" Marshall asked himself. There was no way he would put the little kitten in danger for no reason. With that said, there was still a big elephant in the room. How would he solve his problem? What do I need? It would have to be something remote, Marshall thought. A flash of inspiration popped into his mind. The Bluetooth speaker. As soon as the name came to him, Marshall knew it would be the perfect solution. It answered every question he had. The music being played on the speaker would attract the zombies. This would give Marshall the opportunity to kill the zombies one by one, and by increasing and decreasing the sound of the music, the amount of danger he would have to face would be under his control. The best caveat was his companion would be safe. While there were still other things Marshall needed to plan out, he did not waste time before looking for his speaker. In less than a minute, the speaker was in his hands. He found it in the back of his closet, where it rested untouched for quite a while. It had been a while since the last time Marshall used the speaker. So, when he tried turning it on, he found it dead. Funny enough, Marshall was happy and stifled that the speaker did not turn on. His plan was full of holes. He remembered that most Bluetooth speakers had a short range for connection, and although his was on the longer end at 30 meters, it was far less than the length of the building. Running was the first thing that came to Marshall's mind, and lots of it. Otherwise, the plan had no real chance of working. Just thinking of it made Marshall tired. After putting the speaker in charge, Marshall wondered if Vaughn had a Bluetooth speaker. He vaguely remembered Vaughn using one, but was drawing a blank if he owned it. If Vaughn did have one, the chance for the plan to succeed would be much higher. But before he could look for Vaughn's speaker, Marshall would have to find his old phone so that the speaker could connect to something. Around 5 minutes later, Marshall found his old phone at the bottom of one of his drawers. Not surprisingly, the phone was dead. After charging it, Marshall went to look for the speaker in Vaughn's room. It took about 5 seconds before he found the speaker on the TV stand, and surprisingly it had about 50% charge. With this last piece, Marshall just had to wait for everything to charge to start his plan. 40 minutes later, both speakers were in place at both ends of the building. After taking a deep breath, Marshall ran to the first phone and turned the music on before running to the other side of the building. The music was precisely loud enough for the zombies to hear, but not loud enough to cause him any real trouble. Who knew how many zombies were near him? Marshall poked his head around the corner to see the zombies' reactions. There were noticeably fewer zombies in his sight, and they seemed to be following the sound of the music. When the last zombie went around the corner and was out of sight, he ran to get his bat. His plan was in full motion. With his bat back in his hand, Marshall had the thought to alter his plan. Instead of leaving both speakers stationary, he would bring one with him. This would allow him to shepherd the zombies one by one. Looking around the corner, Marshall put down the speaker. He was watching the zombies follow the music. When enough time passed, it was time to turn on the second speaker. Before playing the music, Marshall adjusted the volume on his phone to mute. He did want to accidentally blast the music and make a blunder. He slowly increased the music volume until two trailing zombies in the back of the herd heard the sound. The other zombies continued to follow the music played on the first speaker. On the other hand, the two trailing zombies seemed indecisive about what to follow. Seeing this, Marshall paused the music. As if coming out of their indecisive trance, the two trailing zombies started following their fellow zombies. Marshall smirked, knowing his plan would succeed. At the right moment, Marshall would pause and start the music until the other zombies were out of sight. After stopping the music one last time to take out the zombies, Marshall ran silently after the two zombies. Sensing something behind them, the two trailing zombies turned around, but it was too late for one of the zombies. Whack! The zombie went down like a log. He was not lucky enough to turn around before getting hit in the back of his head. Before the zombie could get off the floor, Marshall finished it off. Seeing its brethren die in its face, the zombie went crazy. Marshall got concerned with how loud it was and knew he had to kill it quickly before the other zombies noticed. Instead of letting the urgency get to him, Marshall waited for the zombie to come close to him before rolling out of the way. As soon as he was done moving out of the way, he got on his feet quick. Before the zombie could turn around, it was whacked in the back of the head. Two down, Marshall muttered. Around the corner of the building, Marshall poked his head out to see how many zombies were left. As far as he could tell from the zombies he was seeing, there were about 10 zombies remaining for him to kill, and they were getting very close to where he kept the speaker. The only thought going through Marshall's mind was how to kit the remaining zombies. After taking one last peek, Marshall ran to pick up the speaker he was luring the zombies with. By the time he arrived at the corner of the building, about 3 zombies seemed to disappear. Knowing this was the perfect time, he played his music. This time, the sound seemed to distract 3 zombies. It was time to repeat his plan. Around 40 minutes later, Marshall killed the remaining zombies by cleverly utilizing the speakers. One thing that he was afraid of did happen during that time. 5 zombies around the neighborhood were attracted by the music. Marshall was almost caught off guard by a zombie when he turned around the corner. All of his attention was placed on his plan, and he did not hear the warning signs ringing in the back of his head. Luckily, he reacted fast enough to kill it. From there on, Marshall took in everything around him. Around the time Marshall killed the last zombie, his stamina tank was running on empty. He was physically and mentally tired. He did not want to stay outside a minute longer, so he went to pick up the speakers and his phones before entering his apartment. Marshall was greeted by the little kitten. He had left it in the apartment due to not wanting it to get in the way of his plan. The kitten seemed to have an aggrieved look on its furry face from being left out. But after sensing the energy coming from the bat, its attitude changed immediately. Feeling too tired to pay attention to the kitten's shenanigans, Marshall plopped on the apartment floor exactly where he stood. After being confident that the door was fully closed, he wanted to meditate with the bat. It was the quickest way he remembered to recover his energy. The kitten followed right after and crawled on his lap. This action brought a smile to his face. There was definitely something strange about the kitten. During his meditation, Marshall noticed something about the energy he was absorbing. The strength of the absorbed energy was the same as when he meditated by the pool. He assumed that the more zombies he killed, the stronger the feedback from the bat would be. But his assumption was proven wrong. Now that left Marshall with the mystery to solve. One good thing he found during his meditation was the quantity of energy he absorbed was far greater than earlier, which in turn made his meditation time longer. Once the last bit of energy was absorbed, Marshall felt full of life. His mental and physical exhaustion was gone, and he felt stronger. When Marshall looked down at the little kitten on his lap, something was slightly different about the kitten. Marshall did not put too much thought into the change, figuring with how much time they would have together, he would be able to figure it out. When Marshall picked up his phone, he saw it was already 4:37 in the afternoon. It was getting late, and by the time the clock reached 7 at night, it would be dark out, so he had to hurry up to bury the bodies. Thanks for watching.